The first light of dawn crept through the curtains, casting a soft glow over our bedroom. The world outside was still, but inside, everything was shifting. I stood by the dresser, staring at the silk scarf in my hands, a delicate thing, the kind of accessory Victoria wore to her hospital dinners or nights out with her colleagues. But this morning, it wasn't an afterthought. It was a revelation. The scent hit me first, sharp, musky cologne, clinging to the fabric like an unwanted guest. It wasn't mine. At first, I told myself it was nothing, just the remnants of a hug exchanged at work. But then I saw a smear of red lipstick on the edge. Bright, bold, a shade Victoria never wore. My stomach clenched. I had ignored the signs for months. The late nights at the hospital, the vague excuses, the distant look in her eyes when she thought I wasn't watching. I had trusted her. She was a pediatrician, saving lives was her calling. And me, I was busy too, crunching numbers, making sure our life in Ridgewood Heights ran smoothly. We had a good setup, a wraparound porch, 2 kids who filled the house with laughter, a marriage that looked solid from the outside. But that scarf, that lipstick, they cracked the illusion wide open. I dropped the scarf onto the dresser, but my eyes caught something else. My shirt, the one she had thrown on the night before after spilling wine on her dress, hung over the chair. I picked it up, and there it was again. The same red lipstick, smeared across the collar. My pulse pounded. This wasn't an accident. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was leaving clues like she wanted me to find them. I don't know how long I stood there, gripping that shirt, my mind racing through every scenario, every possibility. Down the hall, Cole and Emma were still asleep. Cole, 11, probably dreaming about baseball. Emma, 8, curled up with the stuffed bunny she never let go of. Their world was intact. Mine was imploding. Who was he? A doctor she worked with? A patient's father? My thoughts spiraled, each image worse than the last. I pictured her laughing, touching someone else's arm, while I sat at home, making dinner for our children, believing we were still a team. My throat burned with the urge to wake her, to demand answers, to scream. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I smoothed the shirt back over the chair as if nothing had changed and went downstairs to make coffee. When Victoria walked in, her hair damp from the shower, her smile was easy. "Morning, Ethan," she said, reaching for her mug as if this was any other day. I nodded, muttered a response, but my eyes lingered on her neck. Did that cologne still cling to her skin? Did she even care? She kissed the kids goodbye, grabbed her bag, and left for work. I watched from the kitchen window as her car pulled out of the driveway, my hands clenched around the sink. 13 years, 2 kids, a life built together, and now this. Victoria hadn't just betrayed me, she had dared me to do something about it. The rest of the day was a blur. Numbers, usually my sanctuary, offered no solace. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that lipstick stain, smelled that cologne. By the time I picked up Cole and Emma from school, I was a wreck, but I kept it together. "How was your day?" I asked Cole, ruffling his hair. He shrugged. "Math test." Emma chattered about a new friend, her voice bright, oblivious. I nodded, smiled, played my part. Inside, I was unraveling. Victoria texted that she'd be late, an emergency at the hospital. I didn't reply. When the kids were asleep, I went back to our bedroom. The scarf lay where I had left it. I picked it up, ran my fingers over the fabric. My marriage was dying. I wasn't sure if I could save it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I thought about the early days, how we had laughed, dreamed, made promises we swore we'd keep. We were supposed to grow old together, watch our kids become adults, enjoy the life we had built. But now, all of it felt like a lie. Victoria's late nights, her distant gaze, the subtle shifts in our routine, they had all been red flags. Warnings I had ignored. I had believed her excuses, trusted the life we had built. But trust was a fragile thing. And once broken, it could never be whole again. I looked at the closed bedroom door, at the empty space where she should be. The woman I had loved, the woman I had thought I knew, was slipping away. Maybe she already had. But I wouldn't let her define my next move. I wouldn't let her break me. The house was silent, but my thoughts were loud. I would confront her, demand answers, fight for my children, for the truth, for myself. Victoria had started this game, but I wasn't going to lose without a fight. In the dim light of my home office, I sat surrounded by the remnants of what I thought was a stable life. The room was filled with the hum of my laptop and the faint ticking of the clock, each second echoing the growing chasm between Victoria and me. I had spent the day in a haze, my mind consumed by the scent of that cologne, and the vivid red lipstick stain. Now, as the night deepened, I found myself delving into our financial records, searching for answers that I dreaded finding. The first thing that caught my eye was a series of unusual transactions, large sums of money transferred to a company called Apex Innovations. The name was unfamiliar, and the amounts were significant, ranging from $5,000 to $10,000, all neatly tucked away in our joint account statements. I pulled up the online banking portal, my heart pounding as I scrolled through the transactions. The pattern was clear. Every month, like clockwork, money was siphoned away, hidden among our regular expenses. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking as I searched for Apex Innovations. The results were vague, a generic business listing with no clear details. My mind raced with possibilities. Was this some secret investment Victoria had made without my knowledge? Or was it something more sinister? The timing of the transactions aligned with the past 2 years, coinciding with the subtle shifts in our marriage and the increasing distance between us. I called the bank the next morning, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. The representative confirmed that Apex Innovations was registered in Victoria's name alone, a private account she had set up without my knowledge. I thanked them and hung up, my grip tightening on the phone. The betrayal cut deep, not just the infidelity, but the deliberate deceit, the calculated manipulation of our finances. I thought back to the past 2 years, the countless nights Victoria had stayed late at the hospital, the excuses that had become so familiar. I remembered the IVF treatments we had undergone to have Emma, the emotional roller coaster, and the hope that had filled our lives. But now, as I stared at the bank statements, I wondered if it had all been a lie. Was Apex Innovations tied to the fertility clinic? Had Victoria been funneling money for some hidden purpose? The questions swirled in my mind as I delved deeper into the financial records. The withdrawals were meticulous, small enough to slip past unnoticed, but significant enough to add up to a substantial amount. Nearly $200,000 had been drained from our savings, all under my nose. I had been so focused on keeping our lives afloat, on being the steadfast husband and father, that I had missed the signs. I called the bank again, this time with a list of questions. The representative confirmed that the account was active and that the transactions were all authorized by Victoria. I thanked them and hung up, my mind racing with the implications. Victoria had built a secret fund, hidden away from our shared life, and I was determined to find out why. The next step was to confront Victoria, to demand answers and uncover the truth. But I knew I needed more evidence, something concrete that would leave no room for denial. I thought about the kids, Cole and Emma, and how this would affect them. They deserved the truth, and I was determined to fight for it, no matter the cost. As I sat there, surrounded by the evidence of Victoria's deceit, I made a promise to myself. I would not let her actions define our family or our future. I would fight for the truth, for justice, and for the love that I thought we had. I would rebuild our lives, piece by piece, and create a future where my kids could thrive, despite the pain and heartache. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and unknowns. But I was determined to face it head-on, with courage and resolve. I would not be a victim of Victoria's deceit. I would be a warrior fighting for what was right and true. And in the end, I would emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. The first step was to gather more evidence, to dig deeper into Apex Innovations and uncover the truth behind the mysterious transactions. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face whatever came my way. The fight for my family had only just begun, and I was prepared to see it through to the end, no matter the cost. The gala was a lavish affair, held in one of the city's most prestigious venues. The chandeliers cast a warm glow over the sea of elegantly dressed attendees, doctors, donors, and hospital bigwigs, all mingling with champagne glasses in hand. I stood at the edge of the crowd, my eyes scanning the room until they landed on Victoria. She was radiant in a deep blue dress, laughing with a group of colleagues, her charm on full display. Beside her was Dr. Lucas Bennett, his hand brushing her arm with a familiarity that made my jaw clench. I had spent the past few days meticulously planning this moment, gathering evidence and steeling myself for the confrontation that was about to unfold. The hospital board was already aware of my findings, thanks to a quiet tip from my lawyer, Daniel Morgan. The district attorney was circling, and the legal mess Victoria had created was about to come crashing down around her. As the program began, speeches and accolades filled the air. Victoria was called to the stage to receive her award, her smile confident and poised. She thanked her team, her patience, and even gave me a nod, a quick wave as if everything was normal. The crowd applauded, and for a moment, I almost believed the facade almost. But then, the hospital board chair, Dr. Ellis, stepped to the mic, his expression grim. Thank you, Dr. Carter, he said, his voice tight. Before we move on, we have an announcement. The room fell silent, the air thick with anticipation. We've received serious allegations regarding Dr. Carter's conduct, specifically financial and medical misconduct tied to Inepex innovations and fertility treatments. Effective immediately, she is suspended pending investigation. The room erupted in murmurs and gasps. Victoria's face drained of color, her award slipping in her hands. She looked around, panicked, her eyes landing on me. I met her gaze, my expression calm and steady. This was the moment I had been waiting for, the public unraveling of her carefully crafted lies. I didn't move until she pushed through the crowd toward me, her eyes wild. You did this, she hissed, her voice shaking. I didn't deny it. I simply looked at her, waiting for the realization to sink in. She had underestimated me, thinking I would crumble under the weight of her betrayal. But I had fought back, and now she was facing the consequences of her actions. Yes, I said, my voice low but firm. I did this. You left me no choice. She stared at me, fury and fear mixing in her eyes. Then she turned and bolted for the exit, Lucas trailing behind her like a lost puppy. The room buzzed with whispers and shocked expressions, but I felt a strange calm. The first phase of my plan was complete, and Victoria's world was crumbling around her. But the night wasn't over yet. I had one more move to make, one that would drive the final nail into the coffin of her deceit. I left the gala, the cool night air hitting me as I stepped outside. I got into my car and drove to the restaurant where Victoria and Lucas were celebrating their supposed victory. I had timed it perfectly, knowing they would be there, thinking they had gotten away with their betrayal. The restaurant was warm and inviting, the soft lighting and clinking of glasses creating an atmosphere of celebration. I spotted them in a corner, Victoria in a red dress, Lucas in a suit, their heads leaned close together. I walked over, my steps steady and deliberate, and stopped at their table. Evening, I said, my voice calm and composed. They looked up, surprise and then shock registering on their faces. I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope, placing it on the table in front of them. Congratulations on your freedom, Victoria. Thought you'd want this. Victoria's eyes widened as she stared at the envelope, then back at me. She snatched it up, ripping it open with trembling hands. Inside were the DNA test results, stark and undeniable proof that Cole and Emma were not biologically mine. I watched as the color drained from her face, her hands shaking, as she read the words that confirmed her deepest betrayal. Lucas frowned, leaning over to look at the paper. What is this? He asked, his voice rising in confusion. Victoria didn't answer, her breath catching as she stared at the results. I leaned in, my voice low but sharp. Looks like your boyfriend is the only real father at this table. Funny how that works. The restaurant fell silent, or at least it felt that way. The hum of voices faded as all eyes turned to our table, sensing the drama unfolding. Victoria's eyes snapped up to meet mine, wild and filled with a mix of shock and fury. Lucas looked between us, his expression twisted in confusion and disbelief. You bastard, Victoria hissed, her voice trembling with rage. I straightened up, meeting her glare with a steady gaze. Takes one to know one, I said, my voice cold and unyielding. Then I turned and walked away, leaving them to choke on the reality of their actions. The night air was crisp and cool as I stepped outside, a sense of satisfaction washing over me. I had played my part perfectly, and now Victoria was left to deal with the consequences of her deceit. As I drove home, I couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. The weight of the past few weeks was finally lifting, and I was one step closer to rebuilding my life and protecting my children from the fallout of Victoria's actions. The fight was far from over, but tonight I had won a significant battle, and as I pulled into the driveway, the house dark and quiet, I knew that I was ready to face whatever came next. The future was uncertain, but I was determined to create a new path forward, one that was built on truth, love, and resilience. In the quiet of the morning after the restaurant confrontation, I woke up to the soft hum of the house, the weight of the previous night's events still pressing on me. The kids were still asleep, their gentle breaths a soothing rhythm that grounded me. I lay in bed for a moment, staring at the ceiling, the reality of my new life beginning to settle in. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a warm glow over the room, a symbol of the new beginnings that lay ahead. Victoria's career was in tatters, her reputation ruined, and her affair with Lucas exposed. The fallout had been swift and brutal. The hospital had launched a full investigation into her misconduct, and Apex Innovations had been shut down, its records seized. Families were coming forward, sharing stories that mirrored mine, each one a testament to Victoria's web of deceit. The district attorney was building a case, and the legal noose around her was tightening. The media had picked up the story, and Victoria's face was splashed across news outlets, her downfall a spectacle for the public to consume. I got out of bed, dressed quietly, and made my way downstairs. The kitchen was bathed in the soft morning light, the coffee pot gurgling as it brewed. I poured myself a cup and stood by the window, looking out at the backyard. The swing set Cole and I had built swayed gently in the breeze, a reminder of happier times and the promise of new beginnings. The garden, once Victoria's pride and joy, now seemed to hold a different meaning, a testament to the life we had built and the dreams that had been shattered. As I sipped my coffee, I thought about the road ahead. The divorce was inevitable, but I was determined to fight for full custody of Cole and Emma. They were my world, and I would do everything in my power to protect them and provide a stable, loving home. Daniel Morgan, my lawyer, had assured me that given the circumstances, the judge would likely rule in my favor. The thought of Victoria losing her grip on our family filled me with a mix of relief and sadness. Despite everything, she was still the mother of my children, and I knew that this would be a difficult time for them. Later that morning, Daniel called to update me on the latest developments. The hospital board had formed an ethics committee to address medical fraud, and they wanted me to be a part of it. My story, my fight, had resonated with them, and they believed I could bring a unique perspective to the table. I agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to turn my pain into something positive, something that could prevent others from experiencing the same heartache. The committee would be a platform for me to advocate for change, to ensure that what happened to me and my family would not happen to others. The day passed in a blur of phone calls and meetings. I spent time with the kids, keeping things as normal as possible for them. We went to the park, Cole kicking a soccer ball around while Emma swung high on the swings, her laughter filling the air. I watched them, my heart swelling with love and determination. They deserved a childhood filled with joy and security, and I was committed to giving them that. We grabbed ice cream on the way home, a simple treat that brought smiles to their faces and warmth to my heart. That evening, as we sat down to a messy dinner of homemade pizza, the house filled with the sound of their laughter and chatter. It was a simple moment, but it meant the world to me. We were building new memories, creating a foundation of love and trust that would carry us through the challenges ahead. After dinner, we played a board game, the competition fierce but filled with laughter and camaraderie. It was a reminder that despite the upheaval, we were still a family, bound together by love and shared experiences. After the kids were in bed, I sat in the living room, the soft glow of a lamp casting shadows on the walls. I thought about the journey that had led me here, the pain, the betrayal, and the strength I had found within myself. I was no longer just Ethan, the husband who had been betrayed. I was a fighter, a protector, and a builder of new beginnings. I thought about the future, about the challenges that lay ahead, and about the promise of a brighter tomorrow. As I looked around the room, I saw the remnants of a life that was no longer mine, but also the promise of a future that was yet to be written. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with challenges and unknowns, but I was ready to face it head on. I would rebuild my life, piece by piece, and create a future where my children could thrive, where love and trust were the cornerstones of our home. I thought about the support system. I had friends and family who had rallied around me, offering their help and encouragement. I knew that I was not alone in this journey, and that knowledge gave me the strength to keep moving forward. In the quiet of that evening, I made a promise to myself and to my children. I would not let the shadows of the past define us. We would rise from the ashes of betrayal, stronger and more resilient than ever before. And as I turned off the lamp and made my way to bed, I knew that tomorrow would bring a new day, a new chapter, and a new beginning. The story of our family was far from over. It was just beginning, and I was ready to write the next chapter with courage, love, and unwavering determination. The days that followed were filled with a mix of emotions: sadness, anger, and a glimmer of hope. I found solace in the small moments, the everyday victories that reminded me of the strength and resilience of the human spirit. I thought about the power of forgiveness, not for Victoria, but for myself, to let go of the anger and the pain, and to move forward with a heart that was open and ready to love again. I knew that the journey would be long and challenging, but I was ready to face it with courage and determination. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about the future, about the dreams and aspirations that I had for myself and for my children. I thought about the power of love, the strength of family, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow. And with that thought, I drifted off to sleep, ready to face the challenges of the new day with a heart full of hope and a spirit unbroken.